Hello, I'm Hugo Rodriguez. By profession, I'm a psychologist, but by passion, I would like to think of myself as a quantum philosopher. I developed this passion for quantum mechanics more than 20 years ago, and it was inspired on a question that it's as profound and important today as it was then. Us, the human species, Homo sapiens, have been evolving for around 200,000 years. But have a look at the universe. It has been existing for 13.7 billion years. So do we really have the right to think that what is making us evolve is different to what has been making the universe evolve for such a long time? Obviously not. But this opened a Pandora box of other questions, because then we need to presume that all our faculties, all our qualities, the human attributes, consciousness, intelligence, the ability to plan our goals, our feelings, our rationality, they all must be manifestations of some common mechanism that exists in everything else. I then noticed that quantum mechanics was generating principles and explanations that could explain all these questions. I put these thoughts in writing. Human characteristics, including consciousness, thought processes, free will, and intentional acts, are not exclusive to humans, but particular manifestations of an underlying universal process common to all that exists, from subatomic particles to massive cosmic bodies. To find these common mechanisms, you simply need to look in the right places and apply the correct reason. Quantum physics gave us excellent ground to understand and explain consciousness. In this episode, I'm going to try to explain to you, to show you what our collective consciousness is, how can it be explained, and quantum mechanics offers very good grounds for these explanations. Let me first, though, introduce you to the quantum prophet, the main character in book 1 of the trilogy. The quantum prophet is not really a person, it's an impersonation of the most advanced quantum computer with virtually an infinite bank of knowledge and the ability to answer the most profound philosophical questions. It was inspired by technical advances in what in reality is called Universal Quantum Virtual Generator, a computer system pioneered by the British physicist David Deutsch. In the book, the quantum prophet held a number of chats in front of an audience of very inquisitive people. Let me read you what transpired in part of the initial chat. I wonder if you realize that you have subconsciously invited each other to be together here tonight, the quantum prophet said. A voice at the back of the room responded instinctively. "I don't know anyone in this room. How could I have invited them?" "It's a lot more profound than you think," the prophet explained. "One thing you will learn from these conversations is that you always contribute, willingly or unwittingly, in generating the events in your life, including whom you meet and what activities you do. And the fact that you are now together is because you have communicated with each other to agree to meet in here, because you have a common intention." It was definitely not a good start. The audience instantly felt skeptical. Once again, it was the voice from the back of the room that intruded. "Are you saying that I somehow and unintentionally got in contact with these people without even having met them? How did I do that? And how do they know what my intentions are?" You are all connected at deep levels through what you could call a collective consciousness, which unites all of you even though you are never aware that this is going on. In quantum terminology, this is done through a process called entanglement, and it is a process that connects everything to everything else. When two particles become entangled, their individual properties are replaced by common properties that from then on will affect both entities. If something changes in one of the two connected particles, it instantly reflects in the state of the other particle. And this occurs regardless of whether they are next to each other or separated by millions of miles. This was one of the most astonishing discoveries of quantum mechanics. When a particle is split, the two splits become entangled. That means they continue to be connected, and a change in one of the splits would reflect instantly on the state of the other split, even if they are located at different ends of the universe. That means that by looking at one of them, you will automatically know the state of the other split. The entanglement principle gave origin to a thought experiment that became known as the Gedanken experiment, and it gives us a good starting point to understand what collective consciousness is and how it works. Assume that two particles, A and B, are connected, and that two other particles from a different pair, C and D, are also connected to each other. Now imagine that you send one particle from each pair, let's say B and D, to a person. Let's call him Victor, and the remaining two particles to two other people, A to Alice and C to Bob. Got that? Okay, see now what happens when Victor makes decisions. If Victor decides to observe particle B, he instantly and automatically changes the properties of particle A. The result is that Alice's state of mind is influenced by Victor's decision, even though she has never met him. And it gets more interesting. Assume that now Victor also decides to observe particle D, which is entangled with particle C. That was sent to Bob. Instantly, Alice and Bob become connected, and from here on, the decisions made by any of these three people will have some influence on the other two, even if they had never met, had no information about each other, or don't even know that the others exist. Quantum science taught us that we're all united under the umbrella of our collective consciousness. But what is this collective consciousness? Does it have a shape or a structure? Where should we look to find this unified entity encompassing us all? These are important questions, because if we can explain what a collective consciousness is, then we can deduce what it does and how it governs the intentions, the actions that we perform on a day-to-day basis. I found that the notion of quantum systems is a good start to explain it. Let's have a look at how the book describes what a quantum system is. To understand what consciousness is, where it is located and what functions it fulfills, we need to look at it as scientists look at quantum systems. What are those things you call quantum systems? They sound like mysterious structures that only scientists can understand. The voice at the back of the room was heard. A quantum system is anything you choose to observe. For a scientist, a quantum system is any portion of the physical universe chosen for analysis, and its properties, as well as its boundaries, are delineated only by the scientist's choice. Everything you see around you is a system. A bird flying above you, a glass of water, the smoke of a cigarette, and any imaginable object. And even though systems are usually observed as meaningful whole entities, they can be indistinctive with undefined demarcations. For instance, if you choose to observe an atom in the water of a lake, the atom would be one system. And if you choose to observe half the water in the lake, this would be another system. Everything outside the system is known as the environment, and the boundary between a system and the outside world is determined only by your choice. The chair you are sitting on is one such system, but so is half the chair, any of its legs, or even parts of it, if this is what you choose to look at. As you can see, a quantum system can be anything that you can imagine and that can be conceived as a structure separated from its surroundings. We establish what a quantum system is by simply choosing to observe or think about something. Every perception you have is of a quantum system, and every thought you entertain is about a particular system. Your chair is a system, but by simply cleaning it, it becomes a different system because its properties have somehow changed. You are now relating to a cleaner chair that is a different system. If you look at the chair, but also consider the table next to it, the new perception is once again a different system. It now comprises two pieces of furniture. Our collective consciousness can be understood as a quantum system. But how does it come to be? What is it made of? Here, quantum mechanics seems to offer the best explanations in my view. Like everything else, it is a wave of energy. Since all systems are in reality energy fluctuations, they are studied as waves. Quantum mechanics is the science of waves. All its equations have been generated or adopted to explain the behavior of oscillating energy. When you see yourself in a mirror, what you see is one such quantum system. You are, in simple terms, a wave of energy that resonates in different patterns. The reason that you see your body, and everything else for that matter, as something solid and material is because this energy undergoes a process of slowing down, allowing you to perceive it in tangible form. But make no mistake, you and everything you see in material form around you are oscillating waves of energy impinging on your senses. Our collective consciousness is a wave of energy. It is made by the sum total of all the energy that its subsystems generate. And what are its subsystems? It is us, it's humans, it's all inhabitants on Earth. Like all quantum systems, we emit discharge energy, and when all the energy emitted by all inhabitants in the world meet, they form this particular independent structure, which is our collective consciousness. So in simple words, our collective consciousness is a system of quantum energy. In other episodes, I will try to explain how our collective consciousness governs everything we do, the intentions that we have, the feelings that we possess, the choices that we have, and how we select what choices to follow while neglecting other choices. Before closing this presentation, I would like to give you a summary of the main concepts, which I would encourage you to try to remember, because they will be used for more advanced explanations in other videos. I commenced the presentation by pointing out that all our human faculties and attributes, including intelligence, our ability to have ambition, logic, to reason with logic, to achieve our goals, and to respond to situations with emotional feelings, must be human manifestations of underlying attributes common to all that exists. The principles of quantum mechanics can help us identify these universal qualities and how they exhibit in non-human entities. The main intention in this episode was to try to demonstrate that quantum physics can help us build up a theory of consciousness, and towards this end I explained that we, humans, are all united under the umbrella of a collective consciousness made of the sum total of the quantum energy emitted by all human inhabitants of the planet. I explained how entanglement and the Gedanken thought experiment gave us the grounds to demonstrate that all people are connected at subconscious level, and that the decisions made by any one individual can influence the state of mind of the rest. I then proceeded to say that the quantum notion of systems can further assist to deduce the nature of our collective consciousness. A quantum system is any portion of the universe that we select to observe and to analyze. With our thoughts, we can imagine and thus observe that the energy waves emitted by all people of the world form an independent and unique quantum system encompassing us all. I said that this all-encompassing entity is what governs our intentions and our feelings, what prompts us to favor some choices while neglecting other choices. I also said that quantum mechanics is the science of waves, and that quantum systems, which are essentially what we observe, emit energy waves. In the next video, I will be addressing this more in depth and explain in more detail how these waves can be perceived in physical form. As a way of introducing these mechanics, I mentioned that the reason that we perceive reality in physical form is because these waves slow down, thus exhibiting intangible form that we can catch with our physical senses. In my next presentation, I would like to address what is perhaps the most perplexing, controversial, and mysterious of all philosophical themes: the notion of our consciousness. Early philosophers proposed ideas such as the pineal gland as being the seat of our consciousness. Later thinkers looked into the intricate mechanism of brain neurons and how they connect to each other to explain it. But most scientists are now moving towards the idea that consciousness cannot be equated with the brain. Based on quantum principles, the quantum prophet gives us a more cogent, credible and logical explanation of what consciousness is and where it is located.